Hi there, Limo Gogon here. Welcome once again to the research program Does It Matter? This episode in the series of a case study in relation to the dealings with the Central Statistics Office and now the data protection in Ireland has two objectives. The first one is to reflect on a interaction I've had with senior officials in the Data Protection Office. The second objective of this video is to use it as a medium of communications to the senior officials in the Data Protection Office and set out a number of questions for their attention. So what we want to look at is a series of phone calls which took place on Tuesday the 10th of May 2016. This is the Thursday the 12th of May when I'm making this video. So just to get us, read us into some background, let me just take you over to this document here. There's a previous video on a conversation I had with a senior compliance officer called Paula Ford, and you'll see that in the description below or in the YouTube channel. I had a phone call with Paula which she decided to end after she discovered I was recording the call. She said she was going to speak to her superior and undertook quite definitively to come back to me to explain the outcome of that. So needless to say, Paula did not do so, and I therefore responded to her by email on the 5th of May at 16:06. And one of the questions I asked her specifically was to provide her with the name and contact details for her line manager who has given you directions to which you are now following. Paula had emailed me earlier that day at 14:42 to say that having discussed this matter internally with my line manager, I am to advise that as this matter is the subject of an ongoing investigation by this office, all further discussions with you in relation to same will be conducted in writing only so as not to prejudice our investigation. The point I made that it appears to me that this argument is baseless, particularly because they are, as she further goes on to say, I am happy to continue to correspond with you in writing in relation to any such further details. So I'm left therefore with an enforced control decision by Paula on behalf of the data protection that they're only going to allow me to communicate with them in writing and not by phone, and yet they're happy that I continue to correspond with them in writing, and their argument that is in some way this is going to interfere with some investigation they're carrying on. So I waited for a response from Paula, didn't get that response, but subsequent to that I received an email on the 6th of May at 17:46, so that's the day afterwards, and it's signed by it's signed off by a guy called John Keys, Assistant Commissioner and Head of Investigations, and he claims here that he's saying that the matter has been referred to him for further investigation and response. So again, I don't know if he is the person who gave a direction or advice to Paula or if he is her line manager, because she didn't respond. So I need an answer to that question. He also said the matter was referred to him. I want to know by who and why and when. And then he said the position remains that all further communication with you in relation to this matter will be conducted in writing only and for the reasons previously stated. So they were that in some way communicating with me by phone would in some way interfere with their potential of carrying out an investigation. He further goes on then to talk about some details of Data Protection Acts which I don't understand, and I wish to be able to talk to him about that. And he then talks about setting out details, etc. So I needed to get response to that, but very worryingly for me, he talks about the fact that despite the fact that the original disclosure of this personal data may have occurred as a result of an alleged brief on the part of the CSO, so while it appears to me that I've been threatened with enforcement and all sorts of legalistic stuff, I'm being told that the data which I have released as part of a public interest disclosure about the abuse of data by the CSO, particularly coming up to the census of 2016 on the 24th of April, I see these people been very careful that they're saying it's an alleged breach of data by the CSO. Now, I couldn't have this data unless the CSO actually gave it to me. So you'd wonder what's actually going on here. So anyway, I said I need to talk to this guy to get some clarity on this, and the fact that he has said that I'm only allowed to write to him is it's not satisfactory to me. So I made the call, I dug up his number and I made the call, and this is really what I want to disclose or share with you people, and also with the individual himself. So just before I do that, I want to pose you the question as a viewer. If you're dealing with a public servant carrying out their official business, do you believe that you're entitled to request from them their name and rank in the organisation? The same way with the soldiers obliged in war to give his name, rank and serial number. Do you believe you're entitled to that from, and do you believe that you're entitled that they should give it to you? Secondly, do you think that there's a lower level above which that would be understood? At what level of employment in the public service would you be expected to understand that? You know, when you come in the door as a clerical assistant or whatever. And the other end of the scale is there a higher level of superiority above which public servants are relieved of such obligation to give you this data? So it is my impression that I think you're entitled to get this data, and I would invite you later on in this to hear a senior investigations officer prevaricate over this. Anyway, the person I was trying to contact is a person called John Keys. So after carrying out a search for a John Keys, I find, strangely enough, on a website called Beauchamp Solicitors, not sure why I would see it there, but I'm presented here by a guy called John S. Keys, Assistant Data Protection Commissioner. So I presume this is the individual we're talking about. You can see there's a highly educated man, honours bachelor's law degree from NUI, and funny enough, he's a barrister at law in the Honourable Society of King's Inns. 35 years experience in the insurance sector. Seems from October 15 to be a relatively newcomer in data protection. But anyway, this is the chap we're talking about. That's his digital footprint. And so I'm now ringing John Keys, and hi John, I'm talking to you directly now because this video is obviously directed at you, and I wished to discuss the contents of his communication with me and to clarify some issues that I was to raise. So I decided to ring the number, and we'll just have a look at this. So I just need to explain, there were 3 consecutive phone calls, all in short distance of each other. They were both short and they were within a short time of each other. So what I've tried to do as a sort of expositional exercise is to place all of these 3 on a contemporaneous timeline, so you can listen to all 3 in one slot. The whole time frame is something like 9 minutes and 30 seconds. So just look at the first one here. The length of the first call is, you can see down here, it's 1 minute and 3 seconds. Then there's a gap, and these gaps are real-time gaps, just to explain exactly the time, and that's a 41-second gap. So that was followed by a call then which lasted 3 minutes and 59 seconds. That then is followed by another gap which is 25 seconds, and then the final call lasts for, let me just have a look at this. This final call then lasts for 3 minutes and 21 seconds. Now these are relevant in terms of the time delays between them, and as you're listening to these, just imagine this is a cold call from me. Ask yourself about pre-screening and protection policies that have been used within. I have had no history with these individuals that I speak, never spoke to them before in my life. The first time I came in contact with Paula Ford was last week, but there are, I would suggest, other characters in the background, and one of the questions I'll be asking you, John, is to disclose any personal or other conflict of interest that may be going on in that office in relation to these. So what I'm going to suggest to do is I'm going to play the whole thing through, and then I'm going to just reflect back on some of the issues. So again, let's just start at the very beginning then, when I just rang a number. As you see up here, the number is 1-890-252-231. So one of those generalized phone numbers. Didn't know who I was going to get, and I was very mindful just at the outset of the experience of previous blocking I've had from these people about getting through to people. So the very easiest thing for somebody to say, ah, he's not here, he's not at his desk, da 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 da. I've had this sort of stuff before, so I had to try and think of a way around that.
Call Centre Sunray, Data Protection, how can I help you?
Hi, could you put me through to John Keys, please?
Yeah. Can I ask who's calling?
Well, actually, it's personal, or?
Okay, just give me 1 second.
Hello?
Hi, is that John Keys?
Yep.
Hi, John. Liam O'Gogan is my name.
Okay, this isn't a personal call. I'm going to hang up this call now because what do you
mean it's not personal?
It's not a personal call. This isn't a personal call.
Would you not have taken a call from me if I had...
Okay, so we see sudden cut off. We have basically 40 seconds of silence. This is the time between the call was cut off and I established my next call. So I'm just saying, look, I've got to get back to that guy, because apart from anything else, I've now confirmed he's at work. Now, it's interesting, people are happy to take personal calls, so why wouldn't they take business calls? So I go back, I make the follow-up call here again, and I'm seeking to get back through to him again. Now, it's interesting, I believe my learned belief is that if I had not used that technique, I wouldn't get through to him. But just again, this is a personal call, absolutely, from my perspective, but it's a business call from his perspective. So let's see what happens now.
Just hang on a second. I'm just going to pop you on.
Sorry, could you just give me your name, please? Hello?
Hello?
Hi, is that John Keys?
Mr. O'Gogan?
Now that we've established you're actually at work, this is not a personal call. It's personal to me, all right. It's official to you. Okay? Sorry?
This isn't John Keys.
Are you answering John Keys' phone?
This isn't his phone. You were instructed by Mr. Keys in his email of the 6th to put everything in writing to this office.
Sorry, can you identify yourself, please?
And that's the position.
Sorry?
That's the position of this office.
Could you please, are you an official of the data protection?
Mr. O'Gogan.
Are you an official of the data protection office?
I am.
Could you identify yourself for the public record, please?
My name is Payam Shalchi.
Sorry, I didn't catch that.
And my name is Payam Shalchi, and I work.
Could you spell that, please?
I understand you're big on public and public trust with the civil service. Is that right?
Sorry, I can't really hear you. Sorry, the phone line's not very strong. You understand which? Hello?
You're breaking up there.
Okay, sorry, could you repeat that? Do you understand which? I can hear you.
Could you repeat that, please?
All right, sorry, I didn't catch what you said. You said something about public trust.
I said that you were instructed by email by Mr. Keys to put everything in writing to this office.
All right, what I had asked you to do was to spell your name, please. I don't want to misinterpret your name. Could you spell your name, please?
I'll spell my name for you.
Thank you.
The first name is Payam, P-A-Y-A-M.
Okay.
My surname is Shalchi, S-H-A-L-C-H-I.
Okay. Now, just...
Can I... No.
Yes, of course. Sorry, I'll let you finish.
The position of this office hasn't changed, and it's as follows. That you are to put everything in relation to your complaint in writing to this office.
What do you mean, my complaint?
You submitted a complaint to this office, is that right?
No, I think you misunderstand me. I don't believe I submitted a complaint.
Was it an inquiry?
Well, no, I mean, you've said it was a complaint. I'm sorry, you've made the position. I'm just saying to you, you're on the public record now. I'm challenging that as not being factual. Anyway, but look at Payam. I don't see why you should be added to the problem, Payam. Okay?
This conversation that we're having on the phone, conducted in writing, please.
But can you give me the basis? Sorry, what's your position, Payam? Are you John Keys' boss?
Look, we're not going to go around in circles.
No, but I need you to identify, to be fair, for the public record, Payam, are you John Keyes' boss?
The record has been stated. And
no, sorry, the record...
Say once more, and then I'm going to hang up, okay?
Okay, are you refusing to put me through to John Keyes?
Whether it's a complaint or whether it's a query that you put in.
No, but look, John Keyes is expecting me to comply with the law. I'm being denied the opportunity.
I'm going to try to say this once more, and then I'm going to hang up.
Sorry, what's your position in the data protection?
If you want to interrupt...
What's your position in data protection? That's all I'm asking.
Goodbye.
Okay, so that's the second put down, and I think we have about 25 seconds before I make the third and final call. So again, I ring that same number, 1-890-252-231. I'm expecting to again be put to through to a receptionist and then something, but just let's see. So directly, this is what happens.
Sorry, are you answering the phone now, are you?
Is that Mr. Ogogon?
Sorry.
All I'm going to do is repeat what I said before. I'm going to...
Well, would you mind telling me what your position is in the organisation? I mean, that is a reasonable question. If you're an official of the state and you're paid, what is your position in the organisation?
I'm a senior investigations officer.
Okay, so now, can I say, this is hen's teeth trying to establish, that shouldn't be hard to establish that from you. Now, we may have disagreements, but there should be some protocol under which you agree to operate. Is that reasonable?
I'm not going to get involved in your games, Mr.
Now,
Ogogon.
are you refusing to put me through to John Keyes, or is it John Keyes refusing, given that he has identified that he is in the office?
I'm refusing to put you through because your channel to John Keyes is email.
Okay, can you tell me who John Keyes' boss is, please? Or who's your boss? Who's your manager, line manager, please?
John Keyes.
Okay, so who's John Keyes' line manager?
If you want to pursue this, you could do it in writing.
No,
if you want
to be fair, Payam,
I'm going to hang up in a moment, so you better...
Are you refusing to tell me John Keyes' line manager's name?
If you put the subject of the email to John Keyes' manager, it'll get to John Keyes' manager.
Payam, I suggest you're obstructing my right as a citizen to get information which is publicly available.
No, you've got...
But why will you not give me his line manager's name?
Because I refuse to do so because you're stringing this out again, because you've got some kind of... I don't know what you're trying to do, but all the information, you've got access to every information that you need by just putting it in an email.
And what if I choose to communicate by phone? Am I not allowed to do that?
We are communicating, but I'm not going to put you through to John Keyes.
But why am I not allowed to communicate my questions by phone? Is there some law or rule about that? I mean, why am I being treated different than other people?
I'm not going to go there. I think you know very well.
No, you have the opportunity. To be fair, you can talk on you're on the public record now. All you've been asked to do is explain your position. Now, what you're doing is you're obfuscating and you're preventing me from my citizens' rights to get information. And one piece of information I'm seeking is John Keyes' line manager's name.
If you interrupt me, I'm just going to have to put down the phone. There's all the information that you're looking for. You're not being obstructed from receiving any of it. You can put it in writing, and you're being treated as no other citizen. You're not being treated differently to anybody else. So any information that you want, you can get it.
Are you finished?
Yeah.
Okay, can I speak now?
Depends what you're going to say. Go on.
Just let's reflect on what Payam just said.
Right. No.
It depends on what I'm going to say.
This conversation is over. Okay?
So I'm not allowed to ask a question, am I?
Okay, folks, that's the end of 3 phone calls, which left me, as the fella says, not much better informed, but I think quite a little wiser. So I want to reflect on some of the elements of that. Now, obviously, initially I just got to speak to John Keyes for a moment, so let's go back to John Keyes and let's just see how he responded.
Hello?
Hi, is that John Keyes?
Yep.
Hi, John. Liam O'Gogon is my name.
Okay, this isn't a personal call. I'm going to hang up this call now because you've.
What do you mean it's not personal?
So interesting, because you've now. To be fair, I should have just let him go on there. I'm not sure what he was going to say. I'll just see what he says here, right?
What do you mean it's not personal?
It's not a personal call. This isn't a personal call.
Would you not have taken a call from me if I had?
So to be fair, look, I expected this screening business to be there. I've had it before from these people, but a bit surprised at this. I mean, I'm just wondering in terms of public service policy. Like, now we're in the business that we can take personal calls and we can decide not to take official calls. Like, he's not paid for his personal time. He is paid to do the business of the state. But the other thing is, it's important perhaps that we just look at who this character is. This guy here is a barrister. I mean, just as a barrister at law, this is a serious player here in terms of understanding law and nuance, and also in terms of advocacy and difference of opinion, or the concept of argument. This is not something that should be unusual to a person like him. And, you know, I would submit that the way in which he mishandled that call is both childish and unprofessional and unbecoming of someone of the status to which he is employed. So look at there, you can see the picture. The guy's not a young man. Well, sorry, he's younger than me, I hope. But he's not a child. Well, sorry, he's not the age that a child would normally be at, although I believe that such behaviour is certainly unbecoming of someone in his office. Now, the interesting thing is, again, that, I just want to go back to the email that he had sent to me. I mean, he sent me complex stuff here about acts and things like that I don't understand, and also he has posited an argument as to why he can't talk to me, which I think is baseless. He's claimed that in some way it's going to impact on his investigation. He hasn't said to me that my YouTube videos are going to impact on an investigation, or has he referred to those at all. And I would suggest this is just another trumped up con to avoid having a critical questioning environment, somewhere where he might actually have to justify the positions that he's taken. So we'll take him for a moment. The other thing I want you to think of is, like, imagine the time frames involved here. I ring between my first just listen to this.
Okay, just give me 1 second.
Okay, between this time this person's dealing with, just look at between that time, there are 23 seconds in that. No, sorry, there's 30 seconds in that. So she had 30 seconds to decide where do I let this call go to. So she decided to put it through to John Keys. He killed the call, and there was now 40 seconds between that and the next call. So I get her voice again. I just need you to think of reaction time here.
Just hang on a second. I'm just going to pop you on.
Sorry, could you just give me your name, please?
Okay, so once she didn't give me her name, she popped me on hold, and she had to decide, where am I going to send this call? So effectively we have 16 seconds before we get to this other. So I passed to be put through to John Keys.
Hello?
Hi.
And now I get put through to somebody else. So in 40 seconds she had to, you know, either get an instruction or make up an instruction or have a plan to deflect calls away from John Keys and have somebody in there as a blocker in front of him. Now, given the fact that I have no history with these people, the other thing I want to make clear that the phone conversation with Paula Ford that I would have posted, the first 3 parts of it, he would have sent me this email of his, and prior to that call having been posted, or that conversation having been posted online. So the only information he could have about me, unless there's other contaminated information from within his section, which we'll look at later, could only come from hearsay from Paula Ford. My data wasn't online, and in fact the fourth and critical part, or the final part of my conversation with Paula Ford, he wouldn't have had access to this before this phone conversation. So I'm asking myself, what is the algorithms that they're using there to create this delay responsiveness? And in fact, just at the end there, when Payam, as we see, kills that call, and immediately there's a 25 second gap, say there, and then when I make the call, the female voice no longer answers. It goes straight through to Payam.
Sorry, are you answering the phone now?
So I have no idea what sort of system these people have in their 1-800, 1-890 numbers, etc. So there's a question in my mind there about what's actually going on behind all those circled wagons inside these people. Now, let me just hold that as one thing. The next thing, I posed this question at the start about people having the right to know the position of who somebody is. So I just wanted you to listen to how Payam reacts when I ask him for his details.
To this office.
Sorry, can you identify yourself, please?
And that's the position.
Sorry?
That's the position of this office.
Could you please, are you an official of the data protection?
Mr. Gorgon.
Are you an official of the data protection office?
I am.
Could you identify yourself for the public record, please?
No. I mean, I think that what I'm asking, one, is quite unequivocal. I'm not confused about what I'm asking. And I'm just already seeing, like, it's only when I don't go away that I get this amount of detail.
My name is Payam Shalchi.
Sorry, I didn't catch that.
So we get on, we find it's Payam Shalchi, and I'll print that in here so you can see it. The next thing later on, I'm trying to find out what his position in the organisation, because I don't know. He's now fronting for a guy called John Keys, who's senior guy somewhere, so I don't know if this is John Keys' boss or whatever. And I seem to have an awful job trying to extract from who he actually is in the organisation. So, a short time later.
But can you give me the basis? Sorry, what's your position, Payam? Are you John Keys' boss?
Look, we're not going to go around in circles.
No, but I need you to identify, to be fair, for the public record, Payam, are you John Keys' boss?
The record has been stated. And
no, sorry, the record...
Say once more, and then I'm going to...
So, just again, I'm asking the guy what his position, his status in the organisation is, because I really don't know what I'm dealing with here. It's as if there's three voices, they're all sitting in the same chair. I can't get the logistics right here. So I'm asking him that question. You know, what's your rank in the
It's been stated.
No, sorry, the record.
Say once more, and then I'm going to hang up. Okay.
Okay. Are you refusing?
So again, you see this threat. I'm going to say this once more, and I'm going to hang up. I'm asking the guy for what I would regard as details which he is obligated as a public servant to provide for me. But that's nothing to do with the issue we're talking about. Just who are you? You know, name, rank, serial number, who are you? So there's a reference to that. Where do you sit into the organisation? So are you working for the guy you're blocking for, or is he working for you? Or who makes the decisions around here?
Okay.
Okay, are you refusing to put me through to John Keys?
Whether it's a complaint or whether it's a query that you put in.
No, but look, John Keys is expecting me to comply with the law. I'm being denied the opportunity.
I'm going to try to say this once more, and then I'm going to hang up.
Sorry, what's your position in the data protection?
If you want to interrupt...
What's your position in data protection? That's all I'm asking.
Goodbye.
Okay, so I'm now being punished because... I'm not sure why I'm being punished. Because I asked the question, what's your position? That's what I asked. So, anyway, third call, we try again. Let's try this one to see what we have. Let's just pick it up here. So let's pick it up again here, the third call.
Please repeat what I said before. I'm gonna
well, would you mind telling me what your position is in the organisation? I mean, that is a reasonable question. If you're an official of the state and you're paid, what is your position in the organisation?
I'm a senior investigations officer.
Okay, so now can it...
So now that wasn't really hard, wasn't it? So my name is Payam Shalchi. I'm a senior investigations officer. So we've two elements of the request that I made, and I'm going to try and find out now who he works with. So I'll just bypass all of this rubbing around, and I'll see if I can find out where he says who he is or what his grade is or whatever. So after more delays, I keep pressing the issue.
Or who's your boss? Who's your manager, line manager, please?
John Keys.
Okay, so who's John?
Okay, so this is like a quiz, you know what I mean? I'm asking. So I've now established three items. The chap's name is Payam Shalchi. He's a senior investigator, and finally we find that his boss is John Keys. So now he is doing John Keys' bidding, fronting for him, blocking me from getting in there. So quite apart from anything else, if you just start off with that disposition of how he's treating me, never met the guy before, have no, I mean, the timeline for setting up these conversations, you can see from you know, even from the first time I spoke to him to now, it's only a couple of minutes. You know, 5-6 minutes altogether, and most of the time just trying to get answers. I'm not trying to find out who he is. We haven't got into the substantive element of anything at this point. Again, I think just important for the psychoacoustics here, just to note that in terms of the large amplitude waveforms are my voice, the lower amplitude or waveforms are his voice, and that's part of the technical reality of doing a phone recording on your mobile phone, where the upstream, which is me speaking outwards, is recorded at a greater amplitude than the downstream, which is the remote person talking. So the imbalance in strength of voice there has to do with the technology, and obviously because they come in at the same track, it would take me forever to equalize these, and I specifically didn't want to dynamically compress or modify any. This is the original data as it arrived. Now, the next thing I want to pick out is stuff like this.
I'm not going to get involved in your games, Mr.
No, are you refusing?
Now just listen to that again.
I'm not going to get involved in your games.
Now again, I repeat, I don't know who this guy is. I have no dealings with him. I've had one piece of correspondence from what appears to have been his boss a number of days ago. I don't know anything else about the guy. He mentioned something there about being involved in trust or something. Now he's calling what I'm doing games. I just think it's extremely prejudiced stuff. That's all I can say. No, I mean, if he has gone to the trouble of evaluating the arguments and the material that I've presented, and he still has come up with that, then I suggest that he's not fit for purpose. That's what I'd say. But the other thing is, I mean, what I'm doing is not playing games. But I mean, listen to this. This is a senior civil servant saying this to someone he's had no pre-communication with.
I'm not going to get involved in your games.
So you got to ask yourself, what's actually going on behind the scenes in this organisation? What sort of conversations are these people having instead of doing their work? Like, do they just sit around the table talking about stuff all day, talking about people? I wouldn't mind if they based this on some sort of evidence. Next thing I want to just listen to this controlling interface. This is a censorship process in an open and transparent democracy. Listen to this guy.
I'm refusing to put you through because your channel to John Keys is email.
Okay, can you tell me?
So I've been selected out of society and told now you, Mr. O'Gogan, your channel is going to be by email. You're obviously selected because of some number or because of some rationale. Well, you know, the only rationale provided for me by Paula was that in some way talking to me is going to contaminate an investigation. This really doesn't sound too clever, folk. Now again, what's the element of control here?
If you want to pursue this, you could do it in writing.
No.
If you want
to be fair, Payam,
I'm going to hang up in a moment, so you better.
So you see this, I'm going to hang up in a moment, so you better. So basically, I am the controller. I am a public servant who's acting in purely the role of controller. And I just want to jump to the end, because in the same theme here, just the stuff he says at the end, because this is about whether we can talk or not. Because one of the things just in these data lines, I am mindful and was mindful. It's very difficult to decipher stuff when both parties are talking at a time. But there was a sword fencing going on here that I couldn't even get through. Couldn't get to talk about any details at all here with this guy. So let me try this and just see. Well, let's just...
differently to anybody else. So any information that you want, you can get it.
Are you finished?
Yeah.
Okay, can I speak now?
Depends what you're going to say.
So just listen to this again.
Yeah.
Okay, can I speak now?
Depends what you're going to say.
This is like a game that some sort of juveniles would play with each other. Listen.
Yeah.
Okay, can I speak now?
Depends what you're going to say. Go on.
This is a little bit like, you know, Minority Report with Tom Cruise, and you know, you can speak. Well, it depends on what you're going to say, whether I will censor what you're going to say or not. So all of this, I submit, is, you know, really dispositional contamination of any sense that I might be getting in an independent involvement or engagement with these people. And just to remember, just importantly, the important thing is that I will be and have not yet made a complaint of my data being breached and released by the CSO by the alleged placement of original documentation into mail, which seems to have just disappeared into the ether and therefore reasonably could be presumed to be in the hands of some other person in Ireland. No protection made to protect the data, to securitize it, no procedure in place apparently to check it out, and as of yet, number of weeks later, no report of an alleged investigation into what happened within the CSO. Now, I have not, as of yet, lodged that complaint. And it was mentioned here that I had made a complaint. He claimed I had made a complaint. That's not true. What I did is I sent a letter to all sorts of people in my contact list on the day of the census, warning citizens, as a matter of public interest, that their information is not likely to be securitized under the 100-year guarantee given by the CSO as a result of the specified data breach that I had provided evidence of. So that was a history of why I was doing that. So, you know, this is a group of people who have decided, again, just let me look at this person who's controlling all this from a hidden position. This is John Key sitting behind all of this, acting on your behalf, folks. This person is acting on your behalf. This person is a barrister, a lawyer, highly experienced, 35 years of experience, and he's refusing to talk to me where he could actually explain to me, obviously, the parts of law that I don't understand or whatever I'm supposed to comply with. And he's also said, I've been instructed, although I don't know on the basis of what law or procedure I've been instructed, I can only talk to you, John, through email. So I'm just arguing with you that under my Gardner's multiple intelligences, I find this to be the most suitable means of communication with me. And I will point out to you that the Central Statistics Office's own representative have evaluated me as having displayed only average communication skills at interview. So I must work at the limit of my capacity here to try and make my points clear to you. So I'm going to set out a set of questions to you now, John, so you specifically can have them. And I request that if you want to answer them by email and go round in circles and waste public money doing this thing, that's fine. I will just read them back into the public record. And by the way, there's no suggestion to me at any time that I couldn't put this information in the public domain. You have never requested of me that I couldn't share or anything in relation to the emails that you were likely to send to me. So just a number of questions that I'd like to address to you, John, personally. Or is it impersonally? I'm not sure. So the first question that I want you to clarify from me is if you are Paula Ford's line manager, because Paula Ford has not responded to that clear question to her. Secondly, did you instruct or advise Paula Ford not to have further phone communication with me and therefore break her undertaking to me to come back immediately, as you will hear from her recorded conversation, which you now have had the opportunity to make yourself cognizant of? Did you insist that she wouldn't do this or advise her? The second question is, Paula Ford had undertaken to provide for me the audit trail for the email which she says she received from me, which you people are determining was a complaint, which if you look at the title of it, it's a warning, it's not a complaint. It absolutely wasn't. So in the event that Paula Ford has failed on her second undertaking to provide me with that data, can you now provide me with that audit trail so I can see all of the stop-off points and where it entered your system and where it entered your system? And I would like you to be cognizant of the fact that Paula Ford had said that it didn't come to her from info@dataprotection.ie, which she said was the normal channel. Thirdly, I'd like you to address this issue where you mention in your email that the CSO may have occurred, that the personal data breach may have occurred as an alleged breach of data by the CSO. So I need you to confirm the following for me. Majella Lysett from the CSO has claimed in the recording of her conversation, which again you have had the opportunity hopefully to have been cognizant of, and at any stage I would suggest you just go into my YouTube channel to review that data. Majella Lysett has claimed that the CSO have put their hands up and have reported, as I understand it, 2 breaches of data. The breach of data by them providing the other candidates' details, and their own breach of my data by releasing it unprotected into the ether. So could you confirm for me in writing that the CSO have themselves come forward to you with their hands up, as they said? Because if so, please clarify for me how you're still considering this to be an alleged breach if they have already admitted this. So that's a clear question there. My next question is for you to provide, and you're a barrister, if you're the right person. And by the way, if you're not the same person, not the same John Keys as the person I keep referring to here, I've probably breached your data. And look, you might be happy to get the coverage or not, but I don't know what you're doing on the Beauchamp's website. I don't know. Anyway, look, that's beyond my pay grade. But I presume you still are the same guy. So if you are, you've got all the skill sets to provide for me your legal basis on which you refuse to communicate with me by telephone. And just then to lead into that next question, there's stuff here in this thing about acts that I'm not sure of what that means in relation to how I suddenly became a data controller. I'm really confused. I've talked to a number of friends over the last, critical thinkers over the last number of days, and I'm actually not sure what creates a data controller. I mean, if I have a contacts list on my phone, is that, am I a data controller? Are we all data controllers? Are we all similar data controllers to the CSO? I'm not sure that that's something I could tease out just in emails in any cogent and comprehensive and practical way. And just to say, folks, if you listen, there is no line at which, unless this guy is in some sort of an exceptional pay grade. I was facilitated with quite a long phone call with a chap called Tony Delaney, and again, just if we look at in the organisational chart, Tony Delaney is shown here as an Assistant Commissioner Investigation and Complaints some time ago, must be over a year ago. He was quite happy to talk to me at length for a pretty lengthy period of time, in which we were able to tease out a lot of the nuances of that situation, and suddenly I'm being denied exactly the same opportunity. Now again, look, I'm in the organisation chart. I can't find you, John, I can't find you, Payam, in this. I don't know where you sit in the mix here. Not really sure. Maybe these don't keep your websites up to date. Maybe you don't get enough money from the state to do it. I don't know. But I do notice some of the names here. There's a Paula Nerney here, Chief Investigations Officer, and there's a Deirdre Kenny, and they all seem to be, and there's a Paula Ford, so they all seem to be in the same, let's say, what I call operational space. So the next question I'm going to ask you is, because it relates to the potential conflict of interest and contamination of the consideration of my issues. I want to know if there is a cross-breeding or cross-conversation that has happened prior to this phone call. And remember the timelines. Look at, folks, just look at the timelines for how people could have picked up on the response times. And we were talking about 20 and 30 seconds for people to have time to pick positions and apparently to be knowledgeable of various elements. You know, Payam here expresses some view that, so just what Payam again, listen to them saying this.
I refuse to do so because you're stringing this out again, because you've got some kind of, I don't know what you're trying to do, but all the information, you've got access to every
So the presumptiveness again of Payam, I'm just wondering, how could this just emerge out of the ether unless it's contaminated by some pre-conversation? So, John, I'm asking you to put full disclosure there of your knowledge and involvement with my prior experience. And I need to say that, again, I have all of this material in a production bin for future production in terms of really terrible public service quality performance by both Deirdre Kenny and Paula Nerney, who appear from your organisation chart to be connected somewhere around the torso or whatever with the rest of yous in there. So the next area I want you to reflect on and comment on is, this is a bit of feedback that I've got from many of those people who've communicated with me in relation to this rather interesting issue of public interest. Who said to me, read the Data Commissioner's email, the data you received was not in error. The CSO intentionally sent you the information. You are pointing out that the CSO's attempt to black out the information was inept, and as a result of their incompetence, personal details were available. So I need you to reflect on the fact, John, that, I mean, my role here has been to whistleblow and to expose a significant and serious defect in what's supposed to be a 100-year guarantee of data securitization by the CSO, when in fact their operational standards, as have been disclosed by me, are completely dangerous. I mean, I want to fill in my census form. I demand a right to be able to do it, but in all honesty, I simply, in conscience, I could not underpin a false legitimacy by their behaviours. So, I mean, you seem to be choosing the position that you're going to shoot me as a piano player simply because I'm exposing something that really significant people are doing wrong. I mean, I'm suggesting that you might think of it. So the third piece of information that I'd like you to address, John, is this. This is a decision from the Office of the Information Commissioner's website. Now, all this is contained, I think, in online documentation that I've provided. But this decision was back in November 2014. But one of the preliminary issues that was decided upon was the this area here. It says, finally, the release of a record under Freedom of Information Act is understood effectively to be equivalent to its release to the world at large. Now, as I interpret that, I'm interpreting that as that if I sought something under Freedom of Information and was granted it, then it would be equivalent to release to the world at large. So it'd be like gas coming out of a bottle. It just is released and expands into the ether uncontrollably. I would further argue that if information was given to me without me having to revert to the Act, then even more so, that is regarded as being released to the world at large. So the information granted willingly to me by the CSO, which I specifically sought not to be given, by the way, and therefore I, by extension, I've interpreted this as being available to the world at large. I mean, I'm not responsible for having made those decisions. So I need you to think about that at the same time, and I needed to talk to you. I mean, if you can come make me see your perspective on this, I don't have a difficulty. I'd prefer never to have been given this information. It's when I was given this information I became, absolutely aware that this is personal data that I'm expected to fill in a form, and these people, and most particularly make it clear that this is the 12th of May 2016, that nowhere publicly have I seen anybody in the CSO, and most particularly their chief statistician Deirdre Cullen, who has been repeatedly in the public space and in the media declaring with passion that the CSO have never released anybody's personal details to anybody. So this is, it's incorrect, but Deirdre Cullen has been made cognizant of the fact that she's telling an untruth. The Director General, Padraig Dalton, has been made cognizant of the fact that she continues to allow that untruth to permeate the public space, and nobody's doing anything about it. So, I mean, that's the rationale behind what I'm doing in the public interest. So once again, just as I tidy this recording up, folks, as I said, it has two objectives. One is to allow for a greater public understanding of the machinations of what's going on at senior levels in our public service, and again looking at them from what I call a systemic organisational behavioural fractal, this negative disposition, this defensive reasoning that always takes place, this choice to shoot the piano players rather than look at the issues themselves, this controlling perspective on this is how we will allow you to talk to us. And I would ask you to just look at the disposition. Well, firstly, very, very short slot there with John Keyes as he ran away and hid behind the table. And then Payam Shalchi, and the way in which he treated me, and even the way he said, you can talk depending on what you say. So I'm choosing to talk on the internet. I don't think they've blocked me from doing that yet. And these people are not, I believe, are not acting in your personal interest or public interest. And I mean, I've got beyond the point of being shocked by the quality of misbehaviour amongst these people. And just to say, from my perspective, nothing personal here. I just expect people to do what it says in the tin, do their job. At the moment, just again, I'll be working another video after this. I've been trying very hard to try and solve a problem which will enable the bystanders, per se, the candidates involved in this enumerator post evaluation, who are separate from the core of what's actually going on here, to enable their details to be erased from public discussion, while at the same time maintaining and preserving for future retrospective proof that this breach of data actually exists. I live in a society where my day-to-day experience is like the Ministry of Truth in 1984, of attempts to retrospectively deny that things happened. I have put a proposal together for Majella Lycett, head of data office in the CSO, a number of days ago, maybe 10 days ago or so, with a series of reminders, putting this proposal to her, and she has neither acknowledged receipt of my emails nor responded. And in fact, if these people claim to be trying to protect the interest of innocent citizens, etc., they're doing nothing about solving this. So with the advice of some wiser mentors of mine, I have come up with a proposition which I'm going to now work on, and let's move past this point, but essentially where I can hold the truth of the records of what is going on and preserve those for future. So I will be doing that. In the meantime, I put it to you, John Keyes, I choose to communicate with you like this. You can play this back, and you can be sure that if you feel that the question I put to you are equivocated or difficult to understand, just imagine what it was like if we were sending endless emails to each other about it. And I think you should have been quite willing. I don't know whether Tony Delaney is someone you've replaced, or maybe you're his boss or he's your boss, but somewhere in the system here, I didn't see any problem talking for a lengthy period of time to Tony Delaney, Assistant Commissioner, a number of months ago. So unless your rules have changed, or I've suddenly become persona non grata because I'm asking relevant but not welcome questions, then I suggest you start treating me like a citizen. Anyway, folks, thanks for joining me for another in the series on this
thread, this thread of a case study into the CSO, and now once again into the data protection from the research project. Does it matter? Thank you, until the next time.